channel. I'm David Mazzei with Mazzei Formula, and this is my MF5 Superlite prototype. So I'm just a huge lover of rotary vehicles and race cars from the 1990s. I grew up in the 90s, and my favorite cars are the 787B, which is a mid-engine Mazda prototype race car that won the 1991 Le Mans. It had a 4-rotor. It sounds absolutely incredible. It sounds like a V8 Formula. And the rotary is an incredible platform. That's what I modeled the last car after, was to recreate that sound. Add a turbocharger and put it in an RX-7. It was one of the greatest experiences. All the people that I've met and the fun that I had building that car, and getting to interact with you guys and make YouTube videos, that was awesome. And so I've always wanted to take it further than that. I wanted to build a car that would sound like a V10 Formula One. And so that's where the concept of the 5-rotor came about, because a 5-rotor, in theory, if you do the exhaust design and the intake design correctly, you can create this major third harmony, which is a beautiful sound, the sound of joy. And that's what we identify with as in motorsports as that iconic racing sound, and it's the V10 Formula One. So the rotary, being that it fires every revolution of the crankshaft, once every revolution, gives us double the amount of exhaust pulses, and that creates that beautiful sound. We have this custom 5-rotor that we'll get into detail on how it was built and where it came from. And the idea is to put that 5-rotor in a car that is much like the 787B prototype from the 1990s. So we have like a car that's like the 4-rotor Le Mans car, but with the sound of a V10 Formula One. And there's no purpose to this for competition or racing or anything like that. Of course, we like to go fast and we love the experience and the thrill of racing. But for me, it's all about the art and the passion of design. It's about the people that you meet, all the stuff that you go through, the ups and the downs. That's what it's all about, man. And when I was a kid, I used to love Legos and airplanes and computers, and this is just like combining all of it together. There's 150 people that have participated in this project, whether that was actually hands-on fabrication or just going back and forth having conversations about cool stuff. Some of the greatest sponsors and friends that I've made have been through this project. That's what it's all about. And there's over 25 countries that have participated, whether it's from hardware to components to carbon fiber to whatever it is that's in the car. Just to know that you're working with people all around the globe that have the same passion, and then you finally see it come from your brain as a concept and into reality, and then be able to look at it for the first time. Every time that happens, it's just a feeling of joy. So I'm so thankful and humbled by all the people that have participated in this. And this is the Mazzei Formula 5. I'm going to take you around and show you what it's all about. And the goal here is to have a mid-engine prototype style Le Mans supercar that is rotary based, and we use the SLC Superlite chassis as the base model, which is a component car designed by Fran Hall from Michigan. And then we spin it around and I put my own take on it, which is the Mazzei Formula style. We changed the aerodynamics, we changed the components of the chassis a little bit, redesigned the fuel tank. All sorts of stuff went into redesigning the car to fit the rotary power plant. So many people that participated in this. Specifically, I want to thank Todd Buddy. He did a lot of the chassis fabrication and body work that you see behind me. We worked alongside each other for the past 3 years to bring this thing out. It was an incredible amount of work. And I also want to thank Walker Morgan for the incredible fabrication that he did for the engine components that will help bring out that sound when we get the engine running. So thank you so much for everyone that's participated. And I can't wait to show you here everything that we did for the body to make this what it is. All right, guys, I'm going to show you a little bit about the chassis and the body here. So first thing that I really like about this car that's striking is how low the roof line is. It's almost at my waist. And in person, it just feels so much different than looking at pictures. When I had this car up on the jack stands or the lift and we're working on it, we didn't really realize how low it was actually going to be. And then when you finally get on the ground, what you notice is the whole top profile of the car. And that's what I find most aesthetic and cool about the SLC body. And you can see that this windshield up here, which my buddy Neil over at CGS did the vinyl on the top here, 180-degree logo. So it's almost like a UFO or some aliens would get out of this thing. And we've got doors here that open with a gas strut. Modified this a little bit from the way that they traditionally work to be able to get the maximum angle. And that's so that you can get in and out of the car, because these seats are, they're pretty serious. So if you want to kind of check it out up here, you can see what's going on. We've got these billet arms right here, or hinges, and this gas strut. And yeah, so if you want to get out of the car, you pull this, which releases the bear claw. And this is your handle to close the door. And that's one of my favorite parts of the car, is the doors. So working around here, this is what we call the rear clam. This car is basically three pieces. You have the spider. The spider is the main body section with the doors. And then you have the rear clamshell, which is basically the rear fenders, rear bumper, and the rear hatch all combined into one unit. And so the rear clamshell, if you want to take it off, you just pop these arrow catch latches, and then you unscrew the bolts that secure the wing stands to the chassis support frame underneath, and you can lift the entire back of the car off, and we'll show you that in a little bit. It's really nice because you have full accessibility to the engine, all the components in there. I mean, you can get to all the drivetrain stuff for the most part, besides the fuel tank. So if you want to change the spark plugs, or you want to check out the turbocharger, the intake manifold, it's all right there accessible, including the transaxle and the axles and the brakes and all of that. And then it kind of works the same way in the nose. You can pop these arrow catches here, and you can lift the entire nose of the car off in one piece. And the splitter stays on the car. It's a structural component that ties into that chassis support frame that Todd built. These are some fender vents that we added to the car to help evacuate the air that builds up over the front tire. This is to, keep the nose from wanting to lift. And these were made by Hill at Agile. Very beautiful product. This isn't something that typically comes with the car, so I want to thank him specifically for making that for us. These are race mirrors that come from a company that makes exotic mirrors for all sorts of prototypes. Bent this little stem here to get the angle, and I just think this is a beautiful piece. I love the placement here. Another part that I really love about the car are the lights. I'm not exactly sure. People have said it looks a little bit like a C6 Corvette, the way the headlight structure is laid out. I'm not sure exactly what they come from, but I think it's just, every part of this car I really love the aesthetics of it. And so these canards here were also made by Agile. And I made these end plates with these extension spacers. I think it makes it look really aggressive, and it's all carbon fiber, and this should really help with downforce in the nose of the car. Then the last thing we want is this car to lift on the nose, and that's something you have to worry about in a mid-engine. And then as you walk around here, you can see the wing that we've got on it. This is an all carbon fiber element. These are carbon fiber 1/2-inch wing stands. The reason that we went to carbon fiber wing stands, even though they're a little bit pricey, is that there's no sway. So if you try to move this thing, it's very, very solid. And traditionally you would see these cars have an X brace if they're using aluminum or steel stands. And in this instance, we don't need to use an X brace. Well, we might, but I believe we won't have to have one. And this thing should generate a ton of downforce. It's currently at a 9-degree angle, and you can adjust 9, 6, 3, and 0 degrees based on the way that I've drilled the holes for these brackets. So these were all drawn up and water jetted by a company in Canada, including these. I started with foam and then had these cut. Buddy of mine, Brett Noakes at Noakes Specs, he helped me to just kind of figure out what would be the best radii around this, and just the best design. Going with about 5 millimeter thick carbon to keep deflection down, And so hopefully we can generate a lot of downforce on this car, because here's the bad boy turbo from Garrett. Again, I want to thank Garrett for supplying us with this turbocharger. This is the largest turbo that they make, the G57, 106 millimeter compressor, 118 millimeter turbine, 1.4 area ratio. When this thing comes on, you better hold on. And that's why we need all this downforce to keep the car on the ground. For the wheels, these are custom made wheels. These cars traditionally have like a one-piece wheel. You don't really see lips because of the way the offsets work on these vehicles. I really wanted to see three-piece wheels. I think that for that 90s style, when you look at like the 787B, the BBSs, or whatever you see on those cars, they always have a polished lip on the wheel. And they're usually a three-piece design. So in this instance, I went to this guy named Ryan at Youngblood Wheels in California, and he designed these wheels. And the other thing that I like great about these wheels is that he was able to put the bolts for the three-piece pattern on the back side of the lip. So you can see it's basically like a reverse bolt pattern. And that makes them easier to clean, and you don't see all the hardware that you have to polish or maintain. It's all on the back side. And then when you get up in here, you can see how much it allows you to clear the caliper by, basically popping out the face like that. And it allows us to still have a lip on the wheel. Now, both of these wheels, when you look at the front, you've got about a 290 millimeter wide racing slick up here. And it has a profile, like a height profile of 650 millimeters. So that's basically like a 25.5 inch diameter wheel. And now when I set a car up, I like to have a little bit of rake in it. I think it looks aggressive, and it also helps with application of power and being able to have grip. So on the rear, especially because we have so much weight in the middle of the car, we run a 680 millimeter tire, which would basically be a 27 inch tall diameter. And the width of this is 355 millimeters. So when you look at it from the back, which also on this car we cut out, and I'll show you in future videos more about the back, we cut out the area in the rear bumper behind the tire to allow the air to evacuate out. And the tire is over 14 inches wide in width. So we're going to have incredible potential for traction and downforce. And then we couple that with a sequential 6-speed transaxle from Hollinger that has custom gear ratios to allow us to maximize the rotary power band up to 9,000 RPMs with a top speed of 200 miles an hour. Don't really need to go much faster than 200 in this car for the goals. And that's going to give us the most mechanical advantage and the craziest rate of acceleration, especially with the overlap between gears being so close, the close ratios. And then it's going to be pneumatic paddle actuated as well. So the whole concept of showing this to you right now and why we did the body first is because this entire body comes off the car with about 6 bolts. You can pull the nose and the rear clams, and then there's 6 bolts on each side in total that you can remove the entire body. And then under the body is all this intricate fabrication that was performed by Todd Buddy and Walker Morgan, and then all of the components that went into the engine and the billet rotary guys and the crankshaft and all that stuff, all the coolers and intercoolers and all the hardware, everything is underneath this body. So we're going to remove this body for you, and videos coming up, and show you how we put together all the systems, the lines from Vibrant Performance, all the wiring that's going to be done, the ECU and VCU systems from Haltech, the ignition system from FuelTech, the spec clutch that's going in here. We have a custom triple plate spec clutch with an aluminum flywheel chromoly that's going to rev super fast like the V10 F1. Everything about this is all about bringing out that sound and that performance to give us the maximum human experience. And so I wanted to be able to show you what the concept is first, because this is the dream, this is the imagination. And then once you have the concept and you can see what everything looks like, then you use that in your imagination to give you that feeling and those emotions to be able to push through all of the intricate details of putting together all the fabrication work and the lines and the plumbing and all of that stuff to get the engine to fire up, get the car driving. And so it'll basically be like an exo car, and it'll look like something from a Mad Max movie. And then after it's running, driving, tuned, we're shooting flames, everything's cool, then we've got this beautiful body that's already polished, finished, gel coat, all of it, clear coat, everything is just ready to go, and we just put it right back on the car and it's ready to rock and roll. So that's going to be kind of the process that we're going to be going through, and I'm so excited to be able to show you guys this today. And I want to thank all of my sponsors and everybody that supported. There's over 150 people that I've been in contact with over this project, whether that was hands-on, whether they've made something, or whether we're just friends sharing inspiration, troubleshooting. And then over 25 countries that have, provided parts down to some of the smallest little things. And so I'm so excited. This is the greatest time of my life to be able to, bring something into reality that is a dream of mine. And for me, this is just about the passion and the fun of building things. I feel like a kid playing with my Legos. It's just this is the extreme of it when you're 35 years old. So thank you guys very much for subscribing. David Mazzei with Mazzei Formula. And this is the MF5 Superlite. And y'all have a good one.